You're listening to the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast.
What smells so bad?
It's strong, but you'll get used to it. Now here's your hosts, Nick Stevenson and
buddy.
Chris Clark.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Whatever time of day it is, wherever you may be listening in the world. You've just tuned in to episode 8 of the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast. We are so gracious and humbled by the fact that you're joining us yet again. You know the deal. My name's Nick Stevenson. Chris Clark is in the building. And I'm very proud to have a very special guest, and he's special for a lot of reasons. Not only because you're going to give us a unique perspective on the American dream, but you're a little bit of a fanboy, bro.
Oh, just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Hey, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Not at all. I'm telling you, Chris, the second an episode has been posted, this is listen number one right here every single time. And he's letting the world know about it. So we appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Joshua Beard. You go by Josh or Joshua?
Josh, Beard.
Okay. And speaking of beard, that is glorious. Anybody who knows this man, he's got this name and he's living it for a reason. I'm telling you. Glorious beard. I'm so glad you're here though, man. Not only because you've been supporting us heavy, really heavy, and we appreciate that.
Not a problem.
But I've had an opportunity now knowing Chris for so many years, and he tells me that you guys grew up together, so I'm going to have some questions about that. Okay. I've had an opportunity to be around people with a spirit and the energy of just being happy and doing whatever it takes to do that. And I've said before, Chris is one of the most entrepreneurial spirited people I've ever met in my life. The dude always has an idea of something he wants to do, and now he's living it. So I think what we have here is an interesting dynamic. You have a guy who I'm kind of a newbie. I've just introduced myself to the idea of possibly being an entrepreneur. I'm at those beginning stages.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It is. And then we got a guy who you're not working for yourself quite yet.
Not yet.
You're still working for the man, but you're getting there.
Yep.
And then we got a dude who's doing the damn thing. He is his own damn boss. Hopefully we can get an interesting conversation going here about, okay, how do I take the next step? How do I get to be Chris? How does Chris get to be you? And then we take it from there. So Josh, the first thing I want to do is help our listeners who don't know you, get to know you a little bit. Where are you from, man?
I'm from the Houston area. I was born and raised here.
Shout out Deer Park.
Deer Park,
Alrighty.
Newport. I know y'all have some beef, but
it's all good.
You've been in between? I've been on both sides of the aisle, okay.
And, man, I've been all over the place. I've been to South Houston, Pasadena, Deer Park, but I ultimately ended up graduating from LaPorte. So.
Okay. Bulldogs, shout out. All right, man. That's cool. No beef here. You guys have known each other since, how old were you?
Oh, man. I mean, our mothers grew up together.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not grew up together, but I think they became friends when they were like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And they ended up actually moving into their own apartment together.
Okay. So when Chris is telling these crazy stories, you're like, yep, I remember that.
Oh, yeah. The
blowing up dog shit and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
God.
Well, that's what's up. That's cool. I imagine you two because, you and I have only had any discussions through Messenger, but we're friends on Facebook. I keep an eye on what you're doing. You're out there making moves. When I imagine the two of you together as kids, I imagine you like down by the monkey bar selling pixie sticks and, and blow pops. Got your trench coat. Like, hey man, what color you want, man? So, when you guys were kids, what was that dynamic like? Were you guys entrepreneurs then? Were you just
speaking for myself? I can't say I was entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
At that time in my life, I was just your basic average Joe kid.
Okay.
Running the streets.
That would have been a good story though. Selling them pixie sticks.
My brother did have a funny story. He sold gum. He would go buy gum at the stores and he would sell it by the stick at school. And he said, I just couldn't believe how easy it was. Like people would literally buy a stick of gum.
My boy Boo out there selling Lucy's. That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. So I asked you this last night, and I'll ask you the same thing. Like when you were a kid though, when nothing was impossible, like what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Well, and kind of based off a little bit of what I told you was when I was a kid, and my parents can vouch for this, I'd always walk around and say, I want to be an Army man.
Yeah.
And as I got older into high school, and I guess hanging around all the Hold Your Pride crew,
Yeah.
Musicianship slowly came in, but obviously that's not a
Everybody was going to be a rock star at some point, right?
yeah.
at some point.
Yeah, at some point.
But yeah, it was that's what it was, and then it just life hit you a little bit different.
Yeah, I understand. The reason I ask is when you're a kid, you think you can do anything.
Oh, of
Chris,
course.
Chris,
Oh, yeah.
what did you, when you were a little kid, what did you want to be?
This is gonna sound crazy. I don't want nobody judging me on this, but when I was a kid, man, I always knew growing up that I wanted to be a husband and I wanted to be a father.
Right.
That was my main goal in life. Like that was what I wanted to do so bad. Like I wasn't career focused.
Right.
When I was a kid, I just knew growing up I was gonna be a good husband and I was gonna be a good dad.
Yeah.
That was my dream.
No judgment here, dude. I was
mean,
the same thing. But I was going to be the next Michael Jackson at the
There
same
you go.
time, too.
Some kids have these wild ass dreams. I'm gonna
Yeah.
grow up, I'm gonna be the president.
Right.
Like, no, not me, dude.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. Even as a teenager, and I knew I was going to be a father. I knew I was going to have a little girl. Everything else was up in the air, but I knew those two things were
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
happen. But the reason I say that is because when you're a kid, you dream.
Yeah.
You can
dream
be
big.
anything,
Yeah, you dream
astronaut, whatever. Nothing is off limits. And we
Yeah.
talked about it before until adulthood kicks you in the ass and starts killing that imagination. But at some point in that development, as you become an adolescent, a teenager, you have to start thinking about your future.
Of course.
There's this term that's been coined, the American dream. I started thinking about it. The American dream can mean anything. It doesn't mean the same thing to everyone.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, gentlemen, before we get heavy into it, what does the American dream mean to you? I'll start with you, Josh.
Oh, right on spot. Yeah. To me, it's just it kind of goes back to that childhood, I guess. Meaning for you is there's no limit.
Yeah.
Whatever you put your mind to and whatever you can set out to do is your dream.
Right.
For some reason, when you add American in front of it, it's like I can do anything.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing that can hold you back.
Yeah, it takes on this patriotic feel for
does.
sure.
It does.
For sure. What does it mean to you, Chris?
I don't know if you would call this the American dream or not. This is the Chris Clark dream.
Right.
I want to build a life to where I don't need a vacation from it. Mm-hmm. I want to be at that point to where if my wife tells me, "Hey, let's go to Cozumel, Mexico in a week," like, fuck yeah, let's go. See
Right.
y'all later.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
I like the planning and the stressing and the saving and the hoopla that goes along with vacations and goes with things like that. Take those worries out of it. Take those worries about bills. Take the worries out of
Absolutely.
the car note. Like if you want to go, I'm not saying it's all financial and stuff
Right.
like that, but it just makes life so much easier when you say, all right, the truck I'm driving just broke down. Well, shit, I didn't pay any TTL on it. I just financed everything, so now I'm upside down in this bitch.
Right.
I can't even go trade it in because it's a turd.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's don't worry about that. Let's just go buy a new truck.
Yeah.
Just
I hear you.
the
the
I say
financial
this-
independence of it.
I say the simplicity, but in all reality, it's not simple. It's actually a very complicated method. But in
Right.
my eyes, that's the way I see things happen. Things working. That's how I see
sure.
it progressing.
For sure. Ironically, technology allows us to look up the definition of certain things. And I, just out of shits and grins, was like, let me look up the American dream. Let me show you the definition of Investopedia. They're not paying us, but if they want to, just letting you know. It says, what is the American dream? The American dream is the belief that anyone, regardless of where they were born or what class they were born into, can attain their own version of success in a society where upward mobility is possible for everyone. The American dream is achieved through sacrifice, risk-taking, hard work, rather than by chance. I agree with that.
I do too.
100%.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the
That couldn't
idea.
have been defined any better.
Yeah.
That was
and
perfectly
so
worded.
here's the part that's fluid. It says own version of success.
There you go.
So success to one person could be completely different for
of
another.
course, absolutely.
Okay.
yeah.
And for me, when I think of the American dream, a lot of people, the American dream is be rich, be financially
Yeah.
stable, be able to buy whatever you want. Well, that's not necessarily going to make that dream complete.
Mm-hmm.
To me, yes, it means to be wealthy, but not necessarily financially.
Yeah.
I use the example, if I could make the exact same money that I was making now working for myself, I would be happy because I was working for myself.
Yeah,
No,
of
I
course.
probably don't have a Bentley in the driveway, or I'm not
course.
flying around in helicopters, but
Yeah.
I'm doing it on my own. That's the American dream. And also part of the American dream is owning things that are yours.
Yeah.
Not having to give your hard-earned money to somebody else to use something that's theirs.
Yeah.
So I think most people think, being financially independent, owning a home, owning vehicles, like that's the American dream. Working for yourself, doing your own thing. What's ironic about it is we have a man sitting here next to us who's not only living the American dream, but he's selling the American dream, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about that? For people who don't know, so you're in real estate.
Right.
Are you called a realtor or a real estate agent? What do we call you?
So the definition for me is when you actually get your license and you're actually part of a brokerage and doing your own thing, you're an actual realtor.
Okay.
Now you can still be an agent or a real estate agent or
What's the difference in the two?
it's basically like doctor or
okay.
officer or it's just the the title that you
Okay.
get with it. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're an agent, does that mean you work for somebody else, or you can be an agent and work for yourself as well?
No, you can be an agent and work for yourself.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Most people you'll see they'll use the realtor just because it's more fancy when you say realtor. People know exactly what that is.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's just more like a title.
Okay. You ever think about that though? That you're selling people the American dream in a way?
Not until just now. Like as soon as you said that, I was like, no, that's going on the business cards.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
We
because
sell the American dream.
I'm sure you have to get some type of satisfaction. Anytime you come across somebody, they're buying a house for the first time.
Yeah.
And they're nervous. But when it's finally all said and done and you get to hand them that key, like for them, that's like the epitome of we finally did it. You know,
and-
especially when they're doing it for the first time.
And I'm glad you say that because my big spiel when I meet people is this is I'm going to start off by saying this is not a sales pitch. What I'm about to tell you is like, look, I'm here for you. It helps pay the bills, but at the end of the day, I am still friends with every one of my clients that I close with.
Right.
And I'm here for you. I want to make sure you get what you want.
Right.
So I'm going to be honest with you. It's a great feeling when someone puts trust in you to help them find something that a big portion of Americans don't get to do.
I'm glad I put that in your mind, though. That's the American dream. Y'all gonna have to forgive my neighbor Daniel for playing whack-a-mole over there. If you can hear that in the background. Let's talk about, because you weren't born working for yourself. You had a time period where you were working for the man as well.
Oh, yeah.
So what type of work have you done? You said you originally wanted to be in the military. The music thing didn't work out. So when it came time to look, man, I got to get out of my mama's house. What'd you decide you were going to do?
My first thing was sink or swim, and I went straight into the workforce. That workforce was sandwich artist at Subway. Just so if you don't know that's really what they call
a good way to put
Sandwich
that.
artist.
And
I like
actually,
that.
that's what they
Artist.
put it. That's your job title. So if you
Nice.
ever want to talk to them, that is their job title. Sandwich
Put that on the
artist.
resume.
Oh, I do.
Sure.
I do. It's at the bottom. It's at the bottom. But
Right.
It's on there. But I did fast food. I did Jack in the Box. Shout out the one on 146.
Oh yeah.
And while I was there, actually, I got a phone call from Chris, and that's when I started working offshore
Yep.
with SPL. And it was you want to talk about an interesting dynamic change. That was
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you,
What were you guys doing offshore?
that was hands down one of the coolest fucking jobs I've ever had
was.
in
Oh,
my
really?
life. The dynamic was so different than your regular humdrum 9 to 5 bullshit, right?
Right.
So we worked 7 on, 7 off. We had our own helicopter.
Nice.
When I say our own helicopter, it was your foreman, your secondary, and your pilot. That was
Nice.
it. And usually the foreman sat in the front seat with the pilot and told him, all right, we're going to West Cam 170. And there, the pilot would just take off and go, right?
Right.
We'd land, we'd do meter swaps, we'd do sample exchanges, and then we'd get back in the helicopter and we'd hit the next one.
Nice.
And we'd do 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on weather. And then every night, man, we had this, when we were on hitch, the helicopter was allowed to stay off at, 3 days at a time?
3 days before we had to come in.
Yeah. So we'd always crash out at West Cam 368 or West Cam 170. Man, it was like Cadillacs. They were old shell rigs, so they were
Right,
ginormous. It was only a platform that had 3 people on it, and they had 10 bedrooms.
Cool.
And dude, all the fishing you could do, eating when I say fucking kings, dude, I mean deep freezers, 10 or 12 deep freezers,
Right.
filled to the brim of any kind of food you can imagine.
Yeah, just stay away from the sardines, right?
Oh god, yeah. I got a story for that in a second.
Oh man, going back to the food, I remember the first time that it was like within the first month that I went out there, we had walked down. There was a serving room, kind of like a cafeteria,
Right.
And I'm thinking, fresh out of Jack in the Box, I'm thinking we're probably going to get hamburgers or something plain or whatever. I walk up there and he's like, "Oh, how do you want your steak?"
Yeah,
And I was like, "What?
What?
no joke, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, and I'm different. And
Are you sure this wasn't the American dream? What's going on, man?
It was almost.
So something went wrong because
I mean the I'm not gonna to exploit the company in any kind of negative way.
Right.
Management was fucking horrible.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say about that.
So you love the gig,
Dude,
the people you were working for.
Yeah,
Okay.
Amazing gig.
It was
amazing.
complete fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it was a shit show.
Yeah, obviously enough to the point that it was a breaking point.
The job was phenomenal. You couldn't ask for like I said for a cooler dynamic. It was just you and two other guys, and you're flying around the Gulf of Mexico in your private helicopter.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. And
Yeah.
like I said, all the fishing you want to do.
Wow.
It was bad. We saw some wild shit out there, dude. There's this. I don't know if you ever heard of a whale shark. They're ginormous, man. And
Yeah.
like rule number 1 is you do not go in the water for any reason ever.
Right.
You don't go in the water. Dude, we were at this platform, man, and I guess it was his operator's last 2 weeks or something like that. This dude's he's an A operator on the rig, and he's like, I hear, and he stands up and he goes down on what they call a plus 10 deck, right? It's because all the way down the rig and it's 10 foot above the water.
Yeah.
Dog, this cat unzips his coveralls and he jumps in the water and he's swimming, right?
Yeah.
This whale shark that's probably 20 foot long, he's ginormous.
Dude.
He's on top of this whale shark and he's just petting him. And I'm looking at him like,
Oh hell
SeaWorld out in the Gulf.
I'm telling you,
This guy was white, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. I figured. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the
Craziest shit I've ever seen.
I got you. Okay. No. Hey man, it is what it is. That's insane though.
Yeah. It really was.
You guys. So I guess working for the man was the only thing that was holding you down, because this sounds like a badass job.
Well,
But-
it was the like I said, the management was rancid, and people think like working offshore, you're getting paid buku money.
Right.
Not the case.
Oh, okay.
Not the case at all. I mean, like when we first started, we had a lot
Somebody
of
got to pay
perks.
for that helicopter, bro.
Yeah.
That's probably where most of the budget went.
Yeah. I mean, $1.7 million a month is what that helicopter cost to operate.
Wow.
And that was at our beck and call 24/7.
That's insane.
Two
That's insane.
Two pilots that worked 14 on, 14 off. Our pilots were great, man. We had a guy named Dave and a guy named Keith. And Dave, man, he was an old Vietnam pilot. Grumpiest son of a bitch you've ever met in your life. But, dude, he was one hell of a pilot.
Yeah.
There was a time that I never actually got scared until... So when temperature and dew point meet, it creates fog.
Right.
Right. Typical weather common sense. We're putting along, coming back in, and that temperature and dew point met. And I'm talking, it was like somebody took white spray paint and spray painted the cab of that helicopter. You couldn't see anything, bro.
Nah.
Anything.
Yeah.
And Chris Kahn is in the back seat. Chris Kahn starts screaming about 2 seconds into this. Right. Their training tells them to go up instead of going down. Right. So he's
For obvious
following
reasons.
gauges. Exactly.
So you don't hit the ground, obviously.
He's going up. We get to about 2,500 feet, and we're not out of it. So he's like, I'm turning around. We're not going back in tonight. So he turns around, and dude, by the time we cleared the fog, we're 200 feet above the water. That doesn't sound like a very short distance.
Oh, it's very short.
It ain't
Dude.
much.
That's too close for my comfort.
I'm talking like my immediate reaction was to like just grab everything and like, holy shit, we're about to hit the water.
Yeah.
And old Dave Shelley, man, all him and his 50 pounds of ass. I mean, he's a little bitty dude.
Yeah.
He pulled up on that collective, and that helicopter, it's shaking. And I just hear Chris Conn back, screaming. Of course, he gets out of it, and I'm just like, put this helicopter on any platform. The next one you find, I don't care if it's manned or unmanned, get me
off
out of
this
this motherfucker. So he did. We landed at a platform that we don't have any business on.
Yeah.
It was just a random platform, and I said, just keep it spinning. I'm going to go talk to these guys. We ran downstairs, and we're like, hey, dude, we got weather rolling in. We just got stuck. We're trying to get back. Can we crash? Hell yeah, man. Shut it down. Tie that thing down. Y'all come crash. We're just about to cook dinner.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a bunch of Louisiana coon asses who cooked some freaking mean ass etouffee, man. It was the culture out there was phenomenal.
Yeah.
The
That sounds like a dope gig.
The pay sucked.
I'm
the
sorry you
management
guys aren't
sucked.
still doing that.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But it was probably one of the coolest jobs I'll ever have.
Okay.
I mean, it was definitely.
Yeah, and you're working with your buddy, so
Yep.
that's cool. So when that falls to the wayside for whatever reasons, what's your next move?
Well, I think you had got your gig before I did. You had left before I did.
Yep.
And I stayed a little bit longer, and I happened to stay right up to basically the crash when they weren't doing anything, and we were starting to lose the platforms and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think when I started, we had like over 300 platforms.
How long were you there? Because I wasn't there very long. I was there for about 6 months, maybe.
I think I was there still about a year, a year and a half.
Yeah, I didn't stay very long.
Yeah, because the gig for me when I started was I was supposed to relocate to Corpus, or Victoria, so to say, and
That's when that Eagleford shelf was just
just
blowing
booming
up, man.
And it's huge now, but I was supposed to go down there, and ultimately I think when you left, they opened up the spot for the offshore, so I hopped on it.
Okay,
and yeah, I think like I said, when we started, it was like 300 something platforms, and when I left, it was less than 100.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that was including monthly, quarterlies, and yearlies. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, we're going out, we have a 7/7 schedule, and we're flying for 2 or 3 days, knocking everything out, and then we're off for like 13 days.
Yeah.
So, like,
and then they started not paying, and like I said, it was
Yeah, so it was time to make a move.
it was time
man.
to make a move.
and so at that time, I went ahead and started filling out for the plant stuff over here.
Right.
And I ended up getting a gig with SGS PSC.
Okay.
Working with the Oxyvinyl guys right here, and worked my way up. I was there for 5.5 years, and worked my way all the way to a lead man, and was in charge of a 3-man crew,
The big boss. Okay.
something like that.
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So you're in the oil and gas. Now I'm going to stop you there because that can be, if you get in the right place in the oil and gas industry, you can get comfortable.
Yeah,
Very comfortable.
You know,
Yeah.
and there's that stability of working for somebody else. When you work for somebody else, it comes with all the bullshit,
Yep.
the stuff that makes you unhappy.
Yep.
And sometimes that paycheck keeps coming in. You're like, all right, I'll do this for 2 more weeks.
Well, like
know?
you said, when you work for somebody, you need to work when they want you to work.
Right.
That's the key, and I think after a while, it just
And you're still a single guy at this time, right?
No, at this time, me and my wife, I think we were still dating then.
Okay.
We were still dating even when I was offshore.
Oh, you probably had to spend quite a bit of time away from each other.
Yeah, and that that's another reason why you have to leave too. Is eventually, just
not a
because
family man job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not. Absolutely not. Even if you don't have kids, it's not a job for a marriage.
Right.
I mean, I applaud anybody that can do it.
Some of those cats stay out there for
Months.
a year at a time. Yeah,
Man.
they just live out there.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I had an apartment, but I don't know what the fuck happened to it. Like,
Going now.
That's insane.
He's on a platform and like, why don't you go home? Why the fuck would I go home? I nothing to go back home to.
Yeah.
Free home cooked meals too.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Man.
I can't. I mean, you're
Yeah.
out there for 4 days and you
Good
come
for
back
you.
with these sea legs that are like, you're not used to seeing level ground for 4 days. It
Yeah.
kind of it messes with your equilibrium and
Yeah.
it gets uncomfortable
You're
quick.
like, hey, man, good for that guy.
Yeah.
Not for me. Yeah.
No,
More
So-
power to you.
Yeah, for sure. So at what point when you're working for somebody else did you decide, not anymore?
Well, and we'll probably get a little personal, but when you're working those crazy schedules, especially in the plants, you get kind of stretched thin with your personal life. You don't really, you don't have the freedom to know, hey, let's go out for the weekend or do something. You don't have that anymore.
Yeah. You're sitting at a table with 2 people who completely understand that.
Absolutely. It eventually has got to the point, hey, I can't do this anymore. And actually, when I bought my house, the person at the time was like, man, I really like your work ethic. Like, I really like what you can do. I think you can do what I do. And I was like, well, I can't make that jump yet. Like,
Right.
I was comfortable. I was making
Exactly.
I was making decent money, paying everything. Was paying everything on time, paying things ahead. I was like, man, I just can't do it. Eventually, you'll get to a point, in that plant life that you can't get any further, and it's not because
Right.
of your own volition. It's because of something else.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And I couldn't do anymore, and I was skipped over numerous times, and I
Talking
just,
about for like a foreman position.
yeah, it opened up twice. It opened up was it twice when I was there for those 5 years, and they were like, yeah, man, you'll be next, and then some off-site cat would come in and be like, no,
Yeah.
I'm taking over
With the politics.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
and I just said, man, I can't do it. You know, it's not that I physically couldn't do it. You know, at the time it was, you know, it was doing personal issues at home.
Yeah, of course.
And
It's mentally taxing.
it is.
Yeah.
It really is.
and it affects every aspect of your life.
Absolutely.
So you had to make a choice between being comfortable and being happy.
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
a lot of people come to that fork in the road. But when we read the definition of the American dream earlier, it said it is achieved through sacrifice, risk taking, and hard work rather by chance. So the guy who sold you your house, he says, "Hey man, you could do what I do." What was the breaking point? You ask him how much commission he got. Like, yeah, how much of this money I'm giving you are you about to get?
But
Like,
the breaking point was just the comfortability. You know,
Right.
like you said, you know, the commission was a big thing. It's definitely one of those jobs that you get out what you put in.
right.
And I'm not saying I'm lazy or anything like that, but I was comfortable making the money I was doing in the
Right.
easy hours.
All you had to do is show up, really.
Yeah, show
Yeah.
up and leave, and that was it. It just got to a point, you know, marriage was taking a strain, and personal life stuff like that, and it just.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? Let's try something different. Let's just change it up. I know we're comfortable. I know we're doing everything, but you know, we've always wanted to start a family, or we always wanted to, you know, be able to do things on our own time. So let's do it.
Okay.
And
Were you working while you were working on your license, or did you just
so I
bye,
started
boss?
working. No,
I'm out.
I started working on it while I was still working there, and due to the politics, I was let go before I was able to complete my courses.
Yeah.
And so all I really did was light a fire under my ass. I just like, cool, now I'm gonna get my classes done. And I think I got let go in November, and before the end of December, I was already finished with the classes. I had to wait a month to be able to do the actual test, and that following year, 2 months, I was licensed in February, hit
That's
the
what's
ground
up.
running.
That's what's up. That's a beautiful thing, man. Because when you got let go, that was a fork in the road, also.
Oh yeah, what am I gonna do?
Because you could have been like, "Oh man, now I can't take this class," and just gave up on it.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
It happens all. I see it all the time.
Because
man.
people link financial security with being happy.
Yeah.
And when something bad happens, you have a choice. Are you going to give up, or are you going to keep going?
Oh, yeah, fight or flight. That's exactly what it
and
is.
that's a beautiful thing, man. Because you kept at it, you got your license going. So now that you're licensed, are you diving in head first? Are you looking for work to do at the same time? Like, what was your approach to this thing?
I'm kind of like Chris. I don't like to stay still. I do it full time, and that's what you'll see most agents do. You'll see some occasional agents do, you know, part time and do a day job, but I'm full time, and I do side gigs and stuff like that, like
Okay.
Uber stuff like that, just to keep myself busy.
There you go.
But yeah, it's very much a full time.
That's good. That's good. And I mean, you got to go for it. You got to go for it. Balls to the wall, man.
Have to.
I'm not mad at you for that. I think the energy that you put out is probably the reason that you're having success. I know my wife wants you to sell us a house already.
That's what I'm saying. Where's she at?
And I don't even know if you guys have actually met in person, but
I don't think so.
I'll tell you that the reason that you came up when we were talking about it is because she knows people you have dealt with. And nobody's had anything but positive things to say about you.
I'm gonna tell you something right now. Buying a home in 2017. What I told Haley, after everything was said and done, after everything was finalized, I had the keys in my hands. I said, I hope you're willing to die in this house, because I'll never fucking do that again, ever.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, I don't know why the experience was so shooken for me. Like every step of the way, I was just on edge,
Right.
with everything. Every email that came through,
The dream don't start until you're in the house.
Oh, there you go.
yeah,
It's
Exactly.
a fucking nightmare before that.
Great.
But not if you buy with Keller Williams. Yeah. So
our realtor was fantastic. Our lender was fantastic. It got to the point to where both of them said, Chris, you gotta chill out. You
Right.
gotta take a step back and calm down, because you can't be emailing me at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
You can't be doing
Oh,
that.
I would have blocked you for sure. For sure.
I mean, I was just the whole time, dude. I was on edge, thinking like, "There's no way this is gonna happen. There's no way this is gonna pan out in my favor." Like I'm an optimistic guy. Like man, I see the glass half full always. Like I said, when it was all said and done, we're at the title company. We got this big old fat check, and I'm sweating, dude. I'm sweating. They bring this big old pile of paperwork, and they're like, all right, we're gonna need 785 signatures. And what was funny is I'm signing all this paperwork. I am not paying attention to any of it at all.
Right.
The only thing I paid attention to is she said, "You don't own mineral rights to the land." I said, hold up. What? So if there's oil on my property, I don't own it? She's like, nope. 6 inches of dirt is what you own or something like that?
Yeah.
I'm
The
looking
first
at-
6 inches.
So I'm paying $200,000 to own 6 inches of dirt on this property. And who owns the rest of it? Like, who?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would.
The man.
Yeah, the man.
Still can't get away from him.
So we get, like I said, we get the keys, and I told Haley, we were sitting in that car, and I told Haley, I hope that you love this house, because I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
Never, ever.
Yeah.
Like it was.
You got to work hard for the dream. So apparently that includes the paperwork
Yeah.
and all the red tape. But at the end of the day, I know that there's moments, Chris, where you're sitting back on your back porch, you're looking around, and you're like, that's 6 inches of dirt right there.
That's mine.
That's mine. You know? Now, so does that mean that pond you dug is not completely yours? Because I know that
Technically, half of it's mine, and half of it's whoever owns the fucking mineral rights.
that's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I don't know, man. It is a blessing in disguise,
Right.
I would say, because it's some.
We're trying to sell the dream, Chris. Here, don't scare people away.
Well, no. I'm just being real.
Yeah,
Like,
keep absolutely,
dude. We went from a rent house that I was completely content in. We're paying $950 a month for a 3-bedroom.
Yeah, people are googling that shit right
And a
now.
nice.
Where's that at?
And it was a friend deal.
Yeah.
It was we were literally just paying somebody's mortgage.
Yeah.
Our landlord was fantastic. I mean, couldn't
Yeah.
ask for a better landlord. Never went up. It was always, he had built another house and he wanted somebody to rent the house out, so he rented it to us for the mortgage. We went from paying $950 a month to $16-17 a month overnight.
Yeah,
It's great. It's a nice house. It's everything that we wanted. We've done the renovations. We've put all
Yeah.
kind of work into it. It is nice. I'm not gonna sit here and downplay
Yeah.
that at all.
you're just at the point where you're trying not to work for the man no more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's coming. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that's it. It's within my 5-year plan.
If I know you, that shit'll happen. If I know you, that Chris is the make shit happen guy. So, Josh, how long have you been doing the real estate now?
So technically, they're supposed to say it's right over a year, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been doing it for a year.
Explain the change in you in your personal life that's happened since you decided I'm not working for the man no more. I'm gonna do me.
Well, to sit here and say that it magically changed everything would be a lie.
Right.
Still have speed bumps,
Right.
and stuff like that. And but it's getting better.
That's
And
good.
it's good. We're able to spend time with each other. We're able to have family time. Every day I have a section. I turn my phone off. Hey, I even tell my clients, hey, at this time I'm not going to answer anything.
Right.
I have it. I'll respond to you first thing in the morning, but I have a family and I'm going to spend time with that family.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
You've never been able to do that before.
Absolutely
Working for
not.
somebody.
No.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And so personally, like on the inside, like it had to be scary to be like, all right.
Oh, it's nerve wracking.
Yeah.
Especially, when you work for the man or you're working in the plants, you know what your job is. There's a book, there's a manual, obviously there's that for what I do, but I try to be a likable person, and you're not going to please everybody.
Of course.
And that's the big scariest thing
Yeah.
is putting
I know
yourself out
that
there.
from
Yeah.
doing a podcast.
but putting yourself out there and very much being yourself and just hoping people pick up on that.
Yeah.
That's nerve wracking. It really is. Like you said, going back, what you had said previously was being able to help people do that.
Yeah.
That just, going home every day and knowing that I've helped somebody, either start the process or close on their house. That gets me up every morning.
That's the gratification.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the payoff. And man, I thought you'd been doing this for way longer than a year because I've heard from that many people who've said how good you are and who recommended you.
I must be doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great thing. So give me some advice, man. What's the market like right now? I'm hoping to buy in like June, July. What's going on?
Well, if you're in the Deer Park area, you definitely have some.
It's the house my wife wants is on Kentucky.
I'm going to go and look that up.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just letting you know right now. It's on Kentucky. I can't remember the address.
No, it's looking good. You know, most people that follow the real estate world, you know, we're just coming out of what they call the shift, is what they call it where I work.
Mm-hmm. Explain that.
And the shift is basically just the holidays, so everything just kind of slows down, and you may get listings and stuff like that, but people actively buying or not, you know, it goes down, and it goes drastically down after that week or that week of Christmas. You don't get anything. You know,
That's probably why that house has been there for a few weeks now.
probably why. I'll give them a
Probably
call.
why. Yeah. Look that up, man.
But yeah,
see if
it,
you can knock a few thou off of it.
There we go. Hey, I know, a famous person's buying. It's going to knock that price down.
That's what I'm saying, right?
But yeah, it slows down for a little bit, and you know, for this year we were looking at it, and it was like, oh, we'll probably pick up around the 7th or 8th of January, and man, second hit, and people were like, hey, I want to see this house, and it just started coming back, but it's looking good. It's coming back. Like I said, if you're in the Deer Park area, if you have anything under 200,000, it ain't gonna last long.
That's the big ticket right there.
Yeah.
When we were shopping, man, anything under 200,000, I'd get a notification at 3:00 in the morning. I'd text my realtor and say, hey, let's go check it out. He'd text me back 8:00. It's already under contract. Like that quick. Wow. People have already in it. He said some people don't even go look at the houses.
Oh, yeah.
They just put contracts in on them. I mean, it when we were buying, it got so crazy. There was a house over on Temperance that was very quaint, very low key. It was like 1,400 square foot. Nice little
pad.
Kept up real nice, cute. It needed some updates. $165,000 is what they wanted for it. We got there at 8:00. There's a swarm of buyers and real estate agents.
Wow.
They're everywhere. There was probably 20
That's insane.
couples and 20 real estate at their 8:00. I walk in, I'm like, okay, like I get it, but really?
Yeah.
Man, it's getting to be like that around here, though,
There's
man.
20 of y'all in here. So I put a contract in, full asking price, and I asked them to bring $4,000 to close. Dude, they responded, LOL, someone just offered $195.
Oh, good God. Yeah,
And I was like, how does that work? Like, how has somebody offered $195 for this house when they're only asking $165? He's like, well, they'll finance the $165 and they'll come up with the cash from the other end. There's no way I could ever compete with that.
Yeah.
He's like, man, you got to call your lender. You got to get more money because there's no way we're going to be able to keep up with these, 165, 175.
Yeah, they're selling houses from in New York and California and coming out here with money in the bank.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, of course.
So
yeah,
that makes it tough on the people who are buying around here.
This would be a little real estate secret. Is sometimes they list those houses low like that when they know that they're going to sell for more.
Okay.
And they put it on there. That's realistically what they want, but with the intent
know
they
it's gonna
know
go
it's
more.
going to go more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It makes sense.
yeah, and Deer Park, it's
It's a war
That
zone,
makes me
man.
nervous because they're asking for $300 for the one on Kentucky,
Oh,
that'll be
and
about
that
right.
area is kind of a flood zone. I'm like, what's really going on
We're
over
in
here?
Texas. Everything's a flood
That's
zone.
true. That's
I don't
true.
know, dude. I can wholeheartedly say that my house where I bought, the dude told me it didn't flood during Ike, and I was like, okay, bro, like whatever. Everybody flooded during Ike.
Yeah.
Well, we had Harvey, which was 10 times of a storm.
Yeah.
And that water only got halfway up my driveway.
Yeah,
If
I
it was going
remember.
to come in, it was going to come in through the backyard,
Yeah.
not by rising water.
And I'll probably shock you. I live in Dickinson, and when I say Dickinson and Harvey in the same sentence, most everyone's like, "Oh, you got flooded."
Yeah.
No, I'm
They
part of
got
that
you out of the
3%.
helicopter.
Oh no, I'm
Yeah.
part of that 3% that didn't flood, and
Wow.
and it's a blessing that I didn't. I don't know how we didn't.
Yeah.
So do you guys pay attention to that flood zones when you're?
That's the biggest question we get.
Yeah.
That really is. I have clients that send me a house, has this flooded? Not anything else. Not about offers, not about
Right.
Really?
what school district, but has it flooded?
Right.
That's the number one question. And the big thing now is our rhetorical question would be, hey, does it matter if it's Harvey or not? Because there was houses that flooded in Harvey that never flooded.
Yeah.
And
Well, they said Harvey was like an 800-year storm or something like
yeah,
that. Like
it was some, and
Yeah, there's been a few of those 800, 500 year in the last decade or so. So, yeah.
But yeah, and you know that I always tell them, I was like, if you say Harvey, you know, you're gonna write off a lot of the stuff that you may like.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not me trying to be pushy or anything. I'm just telling you, you know, like I said, some things that weren't supposed to flooded, and they're
Right.
never gonna flood again. But yeah, that's the biggest question is flood.
That's the first thing I thought about when she said, "Oh, there's this house on Kentucky." I'm like, man, it floods over there all the time.
Yeah.
And it's between a high school and a junior high.
That means a guy in a 3-car garage, huh?
I hope so.
Ooh,
I can't
buddy.
remember. Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
Them-
I know what
them
you're
houses-
thinking.
Them cribs got 3-car garages
Yeah,
over there.
for sure. That sounds like a podcast studio to me.
Oh, we got it right here.
Somebody looked it up. Looky there.
There
Looky
it is.
there.
We got 298.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I'm gonna go ahead and.
So does
this is
that
my
mean they
save
really
list.
think they're gonna get like $325 for it?
No, not at
No,
all. No,
I wouldn't say on those kind of
no,
prices.
that's probably about.
What would be dope about that is my kids could walk home from school.
There you go.
They literally just walk out and cross the street. That was pretty dope. Hey, this is probably boring radio, or podcasting, but whatever. Hey, yeah, look into it. I'll get some brownie points with my wife for sure.
Absolutely. Going on my
gonna holler
save
at
list
you.
right now.
Cool. So you check out the pod while you're running around showing houses.
Man, I try to. I'm probably get annoying on y'all, but every time one's done, I'm like, cool. When's the next one?
Yeah. He's the first one. If we miss, like, if I say Sunday morning and it turns noon, he's like, "Hey man, what happened?
Yeah, where's it at?
What happened? What happened?"
Yeah,
Okay, so did you guys play music together?
we did not.
Nuh-uh.
I guess you can consider me a groupie then.
Something like that.
Okay. Because I was wondering, man, I wanted to spin it off because you mentioned you wanted to be a musician. I know this.
He came to, I would say, 98% of all of our shows that we played.
Okay.
Even if they were like off the handle, you know, the guy who owned the pit would call me like, "Hey, we need a band right now to headline. Mm-hmm. Can you be here in 2 hours?" Like, yeah, we'll be there. And him and his crew, like I said, 98% of the time we're always there, always supporting.
That's what's up.
Can we take
yeah.
a moment to remember the pit?
Dude.
That most people, if you listen to this and you know what the pit is,
Man,
if you ever went there once, you would never forget it.
it was a, I don't know how to explain it, man. It was a fucking garage with a stage.
Right.
And the dude had a little bit of money to put into this and make it a venue, and it turned out one of the places that I'll never forget. Like,
Yeah.
so much stuff happened up there. So much cool things happened. I mean, we did.
Is it no longer there? Is that why we're
No,
speaking in past tense?
Yeah, no,
It's back to a garage.
They
now.
shut
It's
it down. It's a
Oh,
little
okay.
mechanic shop now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, dude, it was a super, super cool place. I mean, live venues are going away now anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
R.I.P. Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
dude, like for real. Fitzgerald's, they tore that place down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe that they would do something like that. But, and if you back up and think about it, right? I watched this guy on YouTube called The Company Man. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He basically digs into extreme detail of why these ginormous companies fail. And he did one on Gibson. I mean, Gibson is the biggest guitar manufacturer in the world.
Right.
And in 2013, they filed for bankruptcy
Yeah.
because people don't pick up a guitar anymore. People get on a mixer and they auto tune and they can make a frog sound like a princess all
Yeah.
day long.
Yeah.
And that's 95% of all music is now. Like,
Yeah, and
just
you can
don't
put the sound of a guitar
exactly
on that keyboard, on that mixer,
Yep.
and you don't actually need
mean,
the guitar.
It's all they've taken the talent. I say taken the talent. The talent has been shifted to sitting behind a computer and running a mixer
Yeah.
instead of actually having an instrument in your hand and playing.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
That's an interesting thing because when you're in business, you gotta think ahead about stuff
absolutely.
like that.
Yep.
I mean,
You have to always be evolving.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest thing that we always talk about, at least when I got into this, was everyone remembers Blockbuster. Mm-hmm. They had the opportunity early on to purchase
Netflix. Yeah,
They laughed at it.
and they laughed at it. They said, "No,
It was a
no."
joke.
It was a
Right.
joke to them, and now they're laughing at them. You know, they
what's Netflix worth now? Like $8
Oh, dude,
billion,
I
something
I
crazy
mean,
like that.
It's Fortune 500 for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's a huge company.
And
It's a huge empire.
yeah. And can you think if what if Blockbuster was like, "Cool, I'm going to buy it."
I think it was like a $7 million price tag. Is what they wanted to sell
Yeah,
it for.
something like that. 4 to 7. It
Like a
was nothing.
fraction of what it is now.
Yeah.
and now they're laughing all the way to the
Yeah,
bank.
you got to be forward thinking, and you know. So Gibson filed for bankruptcy. So are they not manufacturing anymore?
No, they are.
They still?
They filed bankruptcy to restructure, shut a lot of plants down, shut a lot of storefronts down, and things like that. I'm sure they have a few manufacturing facilities.
Technology,
here in the US.
man. Technology
It eats
taking
it alive,
over,
man. We'll drive by like Food Town in LaPorte.
Oh man.
And they'll say, the kids say, "Why did it close? That's so sad." They didn't adapt to 2020.
right?
They stayed hanging back in 1990. Mm-hmm. Look at what you have right down the road. You have
It's like 2 blocks away.
you have this grocery store, HEB. You're excited to get your ass in the car.
Yeah,
and go to
it's an experience.
It is,
It is.
man. They sell that experience.
Yeah.
And that's why they've been so successful.
Yeah.
You walk into Food Town in Deer Park.
Yeah, it's
Dude, it's falling apart. And
do you remember?
They literally have duct tape over tiles that have busted up.
Yes.
Like they're not fixing stuff. They don't care. They don't care to adapt to 2020. Yeah.
You watched the show Shameless, right?
Oh yeah.
You remember when I posted on Facebook? I'm like, "Are we sure the grocery store Fiona worked at isn't Food Town?" Because it was completely. It just gave me that feel, man.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
hey, anybody who's working there, no offense, you got to do what you got to do.
Of course.
But I understand what you're saying.
But there's so many, dude. You drive up and down. I mean, Josh can attest as a realtor. Commercial real estate now, brick and mortar is an old
It's
way
gone.
of business.
It is. When you say you get sad about like stuff like for Food Town, like when I first read the news, I was like, man, I remember going there after school,
Yeah.
and even getting a tea or something in
Yep.
the line
Yeah.
or whatever. But then you sit
Grabbing
there,
some hot Cheetos.
there you go, and then you just thinking, it's like, well, no, wait, why did it happen?
Exactly.
But yeah, brick and mortar is starting to go down.
I mean, when the Chronicle came over to the house for Fair Dinkum, they asked me, "Why don't you have a storefront? Why? What kind of business doesn't run out of a storefront?"
Right.
I'm like, you want the honest answer?
Yeah. It's called
said-
Amazon. Heard of them?
Exactly. I said you can have a storefront that you're going to pay anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 a month to lease the space,
if you're lucky.
if you're lucky.
Right.
On top of the $50,000 to $100,000 renovation that you're going to have to put up into that
Right.
to make this establishment what you want it, right? You don't just want to put some tables and a coffee pot in there. You want to, like I said, you're selling the experience. My website costs $4 a month to operate. Mm-hmm. I will never go out of business. Never.
Right.
Like
You can find that in the couch.
Exactly. Like, I will my doors. I will always be able to adapt, and I will always be able to say, "Hey, I sell coffee. Hey, I sell air filters." Like I
Right.
will always be able to do that because the website costs $4 a month to operate.
Right.
I'm not sitting in a brick and mortar scratching my head begging people to come in,
Yeah.
come support me, come do this, come to our venues, come to our events.
Yeah. Having to.
I have no overhead.
Yeah.
None. I mean, one of the best burgers I've ever had in my life, Mooyah Burger.
Mm-hmm.
The place was packed all the time, dude. You go in for lunch and it's a line wrapped around.
Yeah.
The
I heard
place-
about it. I never got to go in there.
The place was,
You missed it. It was.
oh, dude, phenomenal food.
I think
Yeah.
it shits all over Five Guys.
Oh, yeah,
really?
For sure.
dude.
For sure.
But if Five Guys wants to sponsor us, we'll definitely remove that comment.
They when they opened that strip center up, right? Mooyah was the first one to sign the lease, and they were there for what?
I don't think there was in a year. Was it a year?
I'd say maybe a year, maybe a little over a year. All of a sudden, all the signs are gone. They're done. And when I say it wasn't like
That strip center is like go there to die.
It
Like,
is.
it is, man. Like
Other than Wingstop, and there's
Wingstop's gone.
Is it?
Wingstop is gone. It's now over there by the Houston Area Safety Council. Gone.
What?
Yeah, they're in that new strip
I should
center.
probably leave the house every once in a while. Hey man, we order like storefront.
Yep.
We ordering food. They're bringing it to the house.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's 2020, man. Times are changing.
Yeah.
As a business owner, if you do not evolve, you do not adapt to these situations and adapt to social media and learn how to
Mm-hmm.
utilize these tools, I can say confidently you're going to fail.
That's why
You
I've been on my
operate.
Gary V shit, man.
Dude, Gary
that
V.
dude's legit. You put me on to him,
Man.
That motherfucker's legit.
I love it. Some of Gary V's content is repetitive, but
Yeah.
it's repetitive for a reason. It's because
Yeah.
it fucking works.
Yeah.
It works. He's right. Everything he has said thus far has just been like a huge, especially to me, like, fuck yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I feel that in my heart. You
Right.
know, stepping back to being a business in 2020, you cannot expect to succeed if you have a 1990 mentality.
Right.
It's just not going to work. It's not
Yeah.
going to. I know several guys who own their own plumbing and electrical HVAC companies, right? They refuse to get on social media. They refuse to do it because
It's free
You're
advertising,
signing your
man.
death warrant.
it, they would rather meet somebody in a grocery store and say, I own a plumbing company. I own an
Right.
electrical company. That's all fine and dandy when social media wasn't a ginormous part of our lives.
Yeah.
That's when you had to do things that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah, you don't have to pay to put an ad in the paper.
No.
Sign up for Facebook. The shit's
yeah.
free.
And you
but-
can blast it
Get an Instagram.
everywhere.
Yeah.
That's going to that. That's my number one site. Is Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's free. It's joint to my personal page.
Yep.
And I can update it anytime I want
That's
to.
that's where people are at, man. That's where people socialize now. That's where people communicate. Like it's that's how information is exchanged, is all on social media. And there's so many different platforms to do that. And every single one of them is free.
I doubt we'd have 1,700 listens to this show already.
If we were walking around Deer Park handing out business cards.
Handing out
Exactly.
CDs. Here's episode 1.
Yeah, there you go.
It doesn't work like that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's a definitely a different time. And like I said, every time we drive by a little building, Fallon will say, they didn't adapt to 2020.
That's my girl.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, the
something
American
like
dream in that aspect has changed. I feel easier to work for yourself now than ever.
It is.
I mean, you just gotta get over the fear. You gotta get over the uncertainty of it.
Yep.
And just go out there and take a risk. But it's easier to do now because, I mean, we talked about it a few episodes ago. I was like, man, I want to be on the radio.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to get on the radio.
Of
That is
course.
a dog eat dog type of business.
Yeah.
Okay, but now there's a website where we can click and say, okay, I want that microphone. I want that receiver. I want this
Yep.
boom stand. Let's do our own shit.
Yep.
And put it on the
Absolutely.
internet.
Yep.
You know, $15 a month, whatever. I can put out this podcast. And hopefully enough people listen to it that now somebody will come in and start breaking me off a chunk of change.
Yeah.
Because I have the ears of people. That's the stage that I'm in. When you first came up to me and said, hey, you're still thinking about doing a podcast, I wanted to do the podcast because I just wanted to have a microphone in my face and,
Of course,
and
yeah.
talk. I never in my mind even thought,
Yeah.
somebody pay for, yeah, come on, dude, whatever, right?
You know me, dude. I'm a money guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're
see
telling me the whole
financials.
time no one ever said that you had a radio voice or anything? Say, hey, you should probably use that.
No, so
This dude has missed his calling.
Yeah,
like tenfold.
Oh, yeah.
people have told me that it really started when I started doing PA for the Tigers.
Oh yeah.
I started doing the PA announcing because normally they'd have a guy up there and he'd be, excited, but he'd just be using his regular everyday dad voice. And I came up in there with this, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody's like, whoa, what's going on? Like, you should do radio. Radio is another thing. Like, that is a dying
Industry.
platform
Yeah.
and industry.
Ask me how many times I listen to my radio
Exactly.
in my truck.
But
like,
do you know,
when I say radio, I'm talking about FM, AM. Because I'm like you. I used to listen to the political stuff on AM, and we're not going to get on that. But
Right.
I used to listen to it all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't even think I use that button anymore.
Nope.
yeah,
It's straight to my phone.
Yep.
I can't stand
Podcast
the
and music.
radio, whether it's music or talk radio. I had the radio on for like a couple of weeks, and this was last year sometime. I had the radio on for a couple of weeks, and they were playing the same shit over and over and over. I'm like, you know what?
Repetitive,
I was
yeah.
like, I'm gonna turn this off. So I went back to my phone, went back to listening to music on my phone or podcast, whatever. 3 months later, I went back to the radio. They were playing the same shit.
Yeah.
Over.
You're not
and
talking
over
about a Houston
and
radio
over.
station, are you?
Yes, I am. Oh no, the one you're thinking about, they've been playing the same shit since 1995.
Oh, I know. ever since they took away that the request line, I remember when that came out,
Yes.
and we used to
Yes.
call
Yep.
all the time.
Yep.
And you're gonna laugh because I think the most requested song at your house was Afro Man. And I think they ran
Shout
that
out
CD
Palmdale,
out.
California.
They had to run that CD out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to the same high school as Afro Man.
That's crazy.
I went to Palmdale High School. Legit story. Legit story.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean the way you get to the American dream, dude, it's changing. And
Oh yeah.
I'm one of the people who I see people like you guys and with the fire and the
So
work ethic.
let me ask you something before you go on to this next topic about starting these endeavors. Okay.
Yeah.
You said that you were scared at first.
Are you talking about this podcast?
Yeah.
I wasn't that.
Maybe not necessarily scared.
I didn't think there was a way to do it.
Okay.
And because I was a naysayer. Okay. So before you got me on board with doing the podcast and possibly getting advertisement, I would think to myself, I need to find something I'm into. Okay, what am I into? I'm really into music. So I was in a rock band, and I was like, cool. That got me outside of my comfort zone because I love to listen to rock music, but I never performed it.
Yeah.
So then I got into a rock band, and I started doing that. A lot of my buddies were like, yeah, man, we could cut a record. The way we do this now, you do it yourself. You don't need to have a record deal.
Yeah.
And I was always like, man, are we even that good?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't believe that I was that good.
Yeah.
And we did a show and we killed. Like, everybody loved it. And I was like, yeah, but still, like, I just couldn't get motivated enough to think that I could make these moves.
Yeah.
And then the idea of podcast came up. And I'm like, well, where am I going to get the equipment? That equipment's probably really expensive. Where am I going to record it? I don't have anywhere to record it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, always thinking about why something can't happen. Then Chris says, hey, man, we can get all this equipment off this website and finance it. No credit, no nothing. Like, okay, there goes that obstacle. And he's asking me, do you know how much people pay to advertise on podcasts? And I'm thinking to myself, dude, come on, man. Who are we? There's going to be 3 people listening to this thing,
Yeah.
Us 3.
Probably. Yeah, I was like, it's going to be 3 people. So we put out our first episode, and at this point, I'm just doing it for fun. And on the first episode, man, I started seeing, like, I'm reaching people I never thought I was going to reach.
Yeah.
And people are connecting with, all we did was tell a stupid little story about how we became friends, but people appreciated our honesty. And people appreciated us being transparent. And I was like, okay, maybe we are onto something. People kept telling me, hey, man, I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
Okay, what if there's a podcast out there that doesn't have negativity, that doesn't have people arguing about politics or arguing over sports? What if there's just 2 guys sitting in front of a mic and they're talking about positive things, motivational things, talking about entrepreneurship, bringing on people with interesting stories, having good conversation? There's people who are going to want to listen to that.
Yeah.
And if enough people want to listen to that, maybe somebody's going to want to say, hey, drink Sprite Zero. It has 0 carbs and no calories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll read that.
Yeah.
For a few thousand. So my mentality changed when you were like, hey, man, we're not doing this just to be doing it.
Yeah.
I was at first, but you had ideas like, hey, man, I wanted to advertise my business on a podcast, and they told me it cost this much. Hell no, I'm gonna start my own podcast. Yeah. So I don't know if it was fear as much as just doubt. I'm not that good. I'm not gonna be able to get enough people to listen to me talk on this microphone to have somebody. I'm over that shit now. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna work this bitch until I'm good enough that they do want to pay me money.
Of course.
The things you're talking about is one of the biggest things that we, in my field, and it's called the limiting belief.
Right.
That is the biggest. There are people are gonna laugh, and any of the agents that listen to this, there's 2 big obstacles that we have in our field, and that's limited beliefs and lead gen. And once you can knock those out, once you can knock down those walls and figure out how to do that efficiently, nothing can hold you back.
Yeah.
The biggest that limiting belief is number one.
Yeah.
You telling yourself that you can't do it, or
Right.
no one's going to listen to it, or no one's going to give a shit about a podcast coming out of Deer Park. No one's going to care.
Yeah.
That once you get past that, it's shocking how much you're wrong.
Right.
Really.
And I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, if I don't think I'm good enough to make that happen now, then I'm gonna get better. I'm just gonna work it.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna get to the point where somebody's gonna say, hey, you know what? This is good. You got a lot of listeners listening to this. Why don't you read this 30-second, little clip for us real quick? All right, I can do that. Yeah, I learned to read a long time ago. So there we go. Let's work it out, man.
Yeah.
So people like Chris and yourself, man, I look at it and I'm like, I got to get on this train. I got to get on board. I got to stop doubting myself and what's possible. Because like you said, that's the number one obstacle. Once you can get past yourself and stop the disbelief that something incredible can happen, then the sky's really the limit. You talk to anybody. You talk to anybody who's successful.
Yep.
They just believed it. They knew it was going to happen. It wasn't a question. It was a certainty that it was going to happen.
And not only did they just believe it, they fucking enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They went to
that's important.
They went to quote unquote work, and they liked what they were doing. They liked showing up every day. They liked doing what they were doing. I mean, it's such a huge part of this whole entrepreneurship thing is if you don't love what you're doing, like
Yeah.
it shows very obvious. It's just like when you're at a job that you fucking hate. It's obvious.
Yeah.
Like, why would you stand at a job that you hate with a passion and you get home and you talk shit all the time about this worthless fucking job and how you're so ready to quit?
Yeah.
Why would you not take that passion, turn it around into positive energy and go do something that you do love?
Right.
Because when you do put that fire burning passion into whatever the fuck it is you do, it becomes great. It becomes something really cool.
Yeah. I think what stumps most people is the fear of failure.
Which,
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
And here's the deal. Fear can work in two ways. It can keep you motivated to make sure that you don't fail, or you can just be scared and decide I'm not going to take any risks.
And
Fear is good for me.
yeah, for it to work, man, you gotta fear has to, I don't want to say excite you, but it has to be a part of your everyday life, because it could fall apart and it could
Right.
fail quick. But you better be 3 steps ahead of it.
Yeah.
You better know how you're going to react to that situation when it does happen.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Well, man, I'm excited to have you guys here. I feel motivated already. I'm fired up, man. I'm ready to go. Josh, you're a year into this thing. I mean, what's your American dream? What do you see? Where do you want to be 5-10 years from now? What's your idea of what your future holds for you?
I'm glad you asked that question, because we just had I guess a seminar at our broker about it, and we had to stand up and say what our number one thing would be for our lifetime goal, and that for me would be just passive income. And not to say that I don't love what I do. I don't love going out and meet people or doing that. When you have the opportunity to, I guess, reap what you've been able to do, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything. Not saying that I won't, but but having that in your back pocket, saying
You can put all that energy into something else.
exactly,
You know?
and that's kind of what I want to do. This is kind of my springboard. I guess this is my start of entrepreneurship. This is going to fund what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
What kind of stuff that I wanted to open up or put out into existence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's awesome. I already know. Chris told me his plan 5 years ago. He's like, I'm gonna be retired when I'm, what'd you say, 45?
45, that's my plan. I'm going to be done.
I'm gonna be to retire when I'm 45. And
Done. Do what?
How's that looking?
yeah, how you looking on that? Hey man, hey, you gotta keep going.
I'm
Positivity.
I'm trucking every day,
Yeah.
and we knock it out of the park every day.
Yeah.
Whether
That's all
it's
you can do.
one order or whether it's 10, like
Yeah.
we do it with a fire burning passion.
Absolutely.
And that's what's gonna get us there.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna take it off.
And I think the part of the American dream that we haven't talked about yet is you're trying to leave a legacy
Of course.
Oh yeah.
for not just yourself, but your kids.
Of course.
And your kids' kids. To know that you're doing something that's going to put the generations behind you in a position, maybe they'll decide to do something that they're passionate about. And
Yeah.
maybe it's not what you're doing. You will have put them in a position to do that.
Of course.
And whatever they want to do. And I know that you teach your girls sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Josh, do you have any kids?
I got 2 dogs. Does that count?
You got yes, it does. The sky is the limit for those 2 dogs.
They are. And mine is both
What's
the
your
kids.
dog's names?
We got Rocket and Gemma.
What kind of dog are they?
One of them's a pit, and the other one is a husky pit.
Pit.
They are both rescues. That's
Nice.
That's
Yeah.
what I
And they're
push.
pretty big, I'm assuming.
Well, he was big until she got there. Now she
Oh,
she
yeah.
runs everything.
That's what's up, man. So, I mean, are kids in that future we were talking
Absolutely,
about?
yeah. That's
okay.
and that's kind of going based on the work that changing careers and stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of setting us up. Y'all talked about it before, and I've heard it so many times from my parents. You're never ready to have
No.
kids. You're never
Yeah.
prepared.
No.
And never
Don't sit around and wait for you to be ready.
Yeah.
You can
'cause
read
you'll
the
be-
manual all you want to.
You'll be
and that manual's
85 talking about,
Yeah.
well, we still got to do this. Yeah.
Nope.
and
Just like this American dream, just like with your career, you take a leap of faith.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to feel like you know what the fuck you're doing every day of being a parent. I'll tell you that much. But I mean, it's just one of those things that this is really stupid. But I told Logan the other day, I'm like, okay, so when I die, you have to do the podcast. Like, we got to keep this thing going. And he's like, don't talk about dying. I'm like, I'm just saying, for me,
Of course.
I want to leave something behind.
Yeah, of course.
Our first episode in 100 years, when the internet is still there, you'll be able to listen back and hear what Nick Stevenson had to say on the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast. That's happening now. That's if not another person listens to it.
Yeah.
But I want to leave something behind that people remember me for the person I was.
Of course.
And this podcast now I can let everybody know. It's not just the people who know me. I can let everybody know what I'm about. And that excites me. And the idea that I might be able to make a chunk of change doing it too, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'll take that.
That's what drives this.
Yeah.
That's to keep
that's the nugget.
To keep going. You gotta be financially compensated in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah, because whatever you guys think, running a podcast is not free.
No.
We are in the red right now. That's for sure. That's for sure. Well, Josh, man, I'm so glad you came on. Like I said, you've been supporting us heavy. You are welcome to sit in that chair anytime, my man. And we can talk about anything. We can rap over music, movies, whatever you want to rap on.
Yep.
You come on and you come see us, man. We thank everybody for listening. Once again, we are active on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. 16 now, Chris. 16 on Twitter. I'll figure that out eventually. But everybody, just like Josh, man, we appreciate you. We appreciate everyone who has shared our content, shouted us out. We can't thank you enough for tuning in. I'm going to get us out of here. For Joshua Beard, thank you, sir. My name's Nick Stevenson.
My name's Chris Clark. We'll see y'all next time.
You've been listening to the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast with Nick and Chris. For more show content, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.